Now, isn't that funny? ASPI claimed their reports on China were completely independent. Now it turns out that they need to be 100% shut down after Washington funding was turned off. Very interesting indeed. Hello, 大家好，欢迎回到外媒看中国，我是安博然。Breaking news, far-right anti-China think tank, the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, or ASPI, which famously likes to describe itself as an independent, non-partisan think tank, has announced it's halted all of its anti-China reports after losing funding from, you guessed it, Washington, D.C. In a piece by the Wall Street Journal, ASPI can be seen begging for money, like a desperate junkie suffering from withdrawals, while making a few hilarious admissions in its state of desperation that back up what we've been saying for years. The Aussie think tank's anti-China hit pieces were solely funded by the US State Department. And that's while they were busy accusing people like me of being influenced by a foreign government. Today I'll take a closer look at this extremely satisfying turn of events. This is Reports on China. I'm Andy Borham in Shanghai. Let's get reporting. By far one of the most prolific purveyors of anti-China conspiracy theories over the past few years has been ASPI, the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, a Canberra-based think tank that has become known more as a warmonger, using its funding from foreign governments and weapons manufacturers like Raytheon, which is involved in electronic warfare, missile systems and defence technologies, and Lockheed Martin, a major US-based aerospace and defence corporation known for producing military aircraft, missiles and other defence systems, to scare ordinary Australians into believing they were at risk and to manufacture consent for the Australian government to spend more on national security. Literally, it sounds so obvious that you'd think anyone would have seen through ASPI's grift, but somehow the majority haven't, and ordinary Aussies remain easily manipulated. One of their successful ploys was to make Australians believe that China, their biggest trade partner, was a massive threat. ASPI produced many fake reports over the years that were used by governments around the world as basis for viewing China as dangerous and deadly. They were behind the hideous conspiracy theory of forced labour in Xinjiang and literally every other yellow peril scare about China. They even accused me of being a tool of the Communist Party of China, even while it was them taking money from foreign governments to produce propaganda. That all came crashing down recently, though, when President Donald Trump and his Doge team froze funding to USAID, the NED, and other CIA-linked groups who have been meddling in the affairs of foreign governments for decades. And ironically, that has led ASPI, who always claimed to be independent, to cancel all of its anti-China work and beg for more money. That all came to light in an hilarious Wall Street Journal article from yesterday titled, "US Foreign Aid Halt is Making Scrutiny of China Even Harder," where a bunch of anti-China shills cry about no longer being able to carry out their missions after Trump derailed the gravy train. The article reads, "China, the world's second largest economy, is already one of the most impenetrable countries. Now, the Trump administration's move to suspend foreign aid is starting to derail non-profit efforts to unearth data on business and social trends, which was already hard to track. Non-profits cited halts to funding from US institutions including the State Department, the US Agency for International Development, and the National Endowment for Democracy. Activists and non-profit executives say the shutdown is forcing non-government organizations to suspend or stop their research." LOL, you just have to laugh, right? Let's skip to ASPI's part. The Australian Strategic Policy Institute, a Canberra-based think tank, said the US funding halt has prompted it to stop work on China-related research and data projects worth about $1.2 million. Like many NGOs, we're waiting to hear whether this work will proceed in the months to come, said Danielle Cove, ASPI's Director of Strategy and Research. In the meantime, we're looking for alternative support and staff have been moved to other projects where possible. The US government was the key funder of large grants on topics focused on China, Cave said. Now, isn't that funny? ASPI claimed their reports on China were completely independent. Now it turns out that they need to be 100% shut down after Washington funding was turned off. Very interesting indeed. Now, do you guys remember that ASPI report I just mentioned where they accused me of being a CPC asset? Well, that report, titled Singing from the CCP's Song Sheet, also featured another person I know, Jerry Cowell, an American based here in Shanghai with over 20 million followers on Chinese social media. Now, when that report first came out, it mentioned that funding came from the US State Department. But that would have been illegal considering that the US State Department is not allowed to use state funds to attack US citizens abroad. Jerry threatened to sue, and then suddenly ASPI deleted the funding reference from their report and acted like nothing happened. I brought up that illegality and the dodginess of ASPI suddenly removing a listed funder from their report without explaining why on Twitter. And none other than Radio Free Asia called my claim misleading. You can't make this stuff up. This is hilarious. Let's take a quick read. Pro-Beijing social media users claimed that a report issued by an Australian think tank on the role of foreign influences in China's propaganda system was funded by the US State Department. But the claim is misleading. The think tank originally stated on its website that the funding of the report was provided by the State Department, but this was an error that was later revised. The claim was shared on X, formerly known as Twitter, on November 25 by Andy Borham, a New Zealand citizen based in Shanghai. Who makes an error like that about something as important as funding? And how ironic that they discovered the error and quickly deleted it, right when they were threatened with legal action. Very fishy. It's 100% clear from the fact that ASPI needs to cease all China-related research following US funding cuts that they are absolutely not independent as they claimed, and also that their illegal report featuring an American citizen in Shanghai was, in fact, most likely funded by the US State Department as first claimed. Honestly, how foreign governments around the world could take ASPI's reports on China seriously now is beyond me. They're not only completely funded by a hostile government, but they're an affront to the intelligence of ordinary Australians who just want to live their lives in peace. The Australian people need to reject the Australian Strategic Policy Institute, just as Donald Trump and Doge have. And on that note, that will be it for today, you guys. But as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Are you surprised that ASPI's core anti-China sugar daddy was the US State Department? Let me know down below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really does help the channel. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.